Hello, good evening, happy Friday. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I am here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments so that I may answer. So I have a great topic for you. It is going to be applying for Vawa even if you're out of status, and even in the case that you're inadmissible. Is that possible? Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you ways that you could still apply for VAWA relief. That means to get your work permit and also to get permanent residence in the United States in the case that you're in this situation. Now, hi there. It's nice to see you on YouTube. Thanks for joining in. Now, let me remind you that I'm also here to answer your questions. So at any point you see fit, go ahead, put your questions in the comments and I will answer your immigration related questions. And it can be anything that's immigration related. Does not have to be related to the topic that I'm talking about. So go ahead, put those questions in. Thanks so much for the love on TikTok. Now, applying for VAWA, even if you're out of status, and even in the case that you're inadmissible. Now, let's start with if you're out of status. Yes, this relief is for individuals who are out of status as well. As a matter of fact, it's specifically tailored to protect those who are out of status so that you can get the relief you need in the case that you're here, you're suffering without status, and you're suffering at the being subjected to extreme cruelty or abuse or mistreatment by a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, parent if you're under 21, under 25 in some cases, or by a U.S. citizen's son or daughter who is 21 and up. If you're in a situation like this, just know that there is this relief that's here and available to you. And what this does, it allows you to gain status here through Farwa, to be able to get your work permit, and then also to go on once your VAWA is approved, or even before your VAWA is approved, to file your adjustment of status application. And this is about a 2-year process where you, at the end of it, you'd be able to obtain your permanent residence. Then you can also have a path to U.S. citizenship. Now, what if you're inadmissible? Now, out of status means that you've crossed the border without permission, or that you are here, you overstayed your visa. Both do qualify for this. But keep in mind that if you do leave the United States, so after overstaying, you overstay over 180 days. If you left the United States and came back in, that is going to result in you triggering what's called a 3-year bar or 10-year bar, meaning you're inadmissible, not allowed to come back into the country for 3 years or 10 years, depending on how long you overstayed. But as long as after you've entered, you've stayed here without status, without leaving, you would not trigger that bar. And because of that, you would not have to be penalized for the overstay during the VAWA application. However, if you came in, say you came into the country with a fake passport, or you came into the country with a fake visa, in that case, you would be inadmissible based on misrepresentation or fraud, but there are waivers available. So that's the other thing. If you are inadmissible based on other issues, so those issues could be you're inadmissible because of a criminal issue, a past offense. You're inadmissible because of misrepresentation or fraud in the past. Or any other type of immigration violation, a waiver would be what could possibly fix your situation to help you to go on to get permanent residence. But if you're out of status here and you've never left since you entered, you would not trigger a bar and you could still go on to apply for relief without the need to apply for a waiver. So I'm going to take a pause here to answer questions that I see popping up. Feel free to put those questions in the comments on YouTube and on TikTok. because I am here to answer your immigration related questions. So go ahead, put those questions in the comments. All right. Okay, so I found out my mother missed both visas calls for my siblings due to address not being changed. They permanently closed her application. Can she reopen the application? So that's very specific, and it depends. How long ago was this? What happened? Were there any mistakes? Was the mistake on the part of the immigration, the National Visa Center, or the Immigration Service? In cases like that, that may be a possibility, but I'd have to evaluate all of those, get answers to all of those very specific questions. I was deported about 20 years ago. Can I still come back to the USA? I have a child there in the USA. So it depends on the reason for the deportation. There are ways to apply for forgiveness to come back to the United States. In some cases, you may not need a waiver. You may no longer be inadmissible, but we'd have to figure out what the basis of the deportation was and whether there's a waiver available. So for example, in the case of a child, if you do qualify for a waiver to get permanent residence based on your U.S. citizen son or daughter who's 21 and up, in that case, we'd have to figure out what is the basis of the waiver, what qualifies you for the waiver. And for example, if it was a criminal issue, then you can base the extreme hardships that you'll have to show on your U.S. citizen son, your U.S. citizen child. However, if it's misrepresentation or fraud, then the only way you could really qualify for those would be through having a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse or parent who will experience extreme hardship if you don't get admission. And then also, what is the purpose of your entrance into the United States? Is it for temporary reasons, or is it for do you want permanent residence? That is going to also matter, because then we're looking at applying for a different type of waiver as a non-immigrant. So in your case, it's complex. We'll need to schedule an appointment, talk through your issues, and then determine what would be best here. All right. Great questions. Keep putting those questions in the comments because I'm here to answer your questions. How long does the I-601A take for approval? So it can go anywhere from 6 months to we're seeing as long as 2 years. So unfortunately, just like everything else, there is a backlog. And because of that, cases are taking unbelievably long. So if you're on the lucky side, it could be shorter, but it could also be longer. If they took your passport while being processed, can you apply for a passport during your process? So I'm not sure what type of passport, and it's really going to depend on what the requirements of your country is in regards to the passport. I-130 has been actively reviewed for 2 months. What could be going on, or what should I do? That is the case. That happens with everyone. It basically just means it's in queue, or it's in queue to be reviewed. It doesn't necessarily mean they're looking at it for 2 months straight. I have had cases, I-130 cases, actively being reviewed for a year. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong in your case. It just means that it's in queue to be reviewed. How old my child have to be to sponsor me? She's an American citizen, 21 or older. I'm a permanent resident. How do I go about obtaining my U.S. passport? Father is a citizen. So it's going to depend. How old are you? Did you derive U.S. citizenship from your parent? If so, then you have to follow the instructions on the passport application, provide evidence of your father's citizenship. If you're under 18, if you're under 18 and you've derived citizenship from your father. So first, you'll need to determine whether you've derived citizenship from your father. You can always schedule a consultation for us to talk more about that, but that's the most important thing you'll have to consider here. How long does it take to get the biometrics date after applying for Vawa? So it could take a few weeks to months. I'm going to take the finger biometrics next month for visa Vawa. After that, how long I have to wait for work I think this is the work permit. So it's taking, while it's hard to say how long it's going to take from the biometrics, just because it varies. The biometrics varies, the length of the background checks varies. And so I would say it's taking anywhere from 9 months to 12 months from the point that you've applied for the VAWA. All right, great questions so far. Keep putting those questions in the comments. I'm going through. Why doesn't the airport stamp my passport when I enter the United States? So I wouldn't know why they wouldn't stamp your passport. However, it doesn't mean that you get to stay for an unlimited period of time if you're coming in on a visa. You can always check the I-94 online. And you'd be able to see your permitted time. Sometimes when they're giving you, when they are going to give you the maximum amount of time to stay here, up to 6 months, then that may be why, because the assumption is you get to stay. But to be very, very safe, make sure, because I don't know what your situation is. I don't know what did you enter on, what visa did you enter on. I'm just making the assumption that it's a visitor's visa, but you can always check your I-94 online. It's a Jamaican passport. I took it. I'm seeking an asylum. So you'll have to check with the Jamaican government to see if they'll allow you to replace it, even though you... I'm doing the DS-160 until I fix the issue with the missed visas. Should I use an attorney? An attorney is optional but highly recommended, and it depends on what type of visa you're applying for. You can always call and inquire and do a consultation to determine whether this is something where you feel you'll need an attorney. How can I obtain an American visa from Uganda? You'll have to apply at the U.S. Embassy in your country. And there, if you go to the website, the official website in Uganda for the U.S. Embassy, you'll be able to walk through, they'll have links to apply for the visa. In order to get the visa, you will have to show that you have strong ties to Uganda. That means you have property, you have a job, preferably a long-standing job, you have future commitments, you have strong family ties, you maybe have a business, you have a reason, good reasons and commitments to return to Uganda. That's what they want to see when you're applying for a visitor's visa. All right, great questions so far. Keep putting those questions in the comments and I will answer those questions. I traveled to the USA last December on a visitor's visa, but immigration didn't stamp my passport. Okay, and as long as you're complying with the terms of your visitor's visa, you'll be okay. Also, make sure you check the I-94 online because you will see the time limit that they give you when you travel into the country. So if it's not in your passport, this is documented on an I-94. So it doesn't mean that you get to stay for an unlimited period of time. So still make sure that you comply with the terms of your visa. You don't overstay. Make sure that you go to the CBP's website and you can look up the I-94 and your most recent I-94, and it will give you the date that you're permitted to stay up until. All right, so keep putting those questions in the comments and I will answer your questions. Now, let me tell you this. I am here from Monday to Friday at around 4 p.m. Eastern time. I come with a topic. So, for example, I came with a topic about applying for Vawa if you're out of status or inadmissible. Remember that Vawa is there to protect you whether you're in status or you're out of status, as long as you're being mistreated by a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, spouse, parent, or U.S. citizen son or daughter. That also includes if you are inadmissible, as long as you've been approved for a waiver. The waiver means that you basically get forgiveness for the past immigration violation. So, for example, if you yourself you've had trouble with the law and you're inadmissible, maybe you've had past misrepresentation, maybe you snuck into the country with a fake passport at the border. These would be things that you could get forgiveness for as long as you formally apply for a waiver. And that's what I help my clients with. So you can always get in touch with me. Let's first determine whether you qualify for this relief, and then also whether you qualify for VAWA. The great thing about this waiver is that you can show, in most of these waivers, you can show that you yourself will experience extreme hardship if you're not admitted into the United States to get this, to be able to get this relief. So it makes it a lot easier, because with other immigrants, when they don't qualify for VAWA and they have to base the extreme hardship on their qualifying relative and not on themselves. So that is the benefit. It makes it a little easier for the applicant to be able to apply. Also, with this waiver, you still get to stay in the United States for the entire process. So keep that one in mind. This will not require you to leave the country. Hi there, good day. My mother's filing for me. My case is at the NVC from 2020. Could you help with the time frame? So it's going to depend on your priority date and your age. I think you may be 21 or up based on the looks of it. If this is the case, then this is a 6 to 7 year process, and the NVC only starts to work on your case when there's an immigrant visa number available to you. What you can do is go to the National Visa Bulletin. You could type that in Google and it will come up. It's on the Department of State's website. Go there and you'll be able to see the dates for your category. If the date that you have on your I-130 comes before the date that's on that bulletin, it means that they're probably ready to start processing your application. So that is one way that you're able to get a time frame on how long it's gonna take. You are welcome. Thank you for the encouragement. Can I use my EAD to fly within the US and to Puerto Rico? So as long as you're flying within the US and Puerto Rico is considered a US territory, then you could use make sure you still have your valid ID, like your passport, and make sure you check with the airline to see that you are complying with all the requirements to travel within the country. But the EAD could count as a valid form of government ID, but you still want to make sure you have your passport as well. All right. Okay, so priority date is 2017. So if it's 2017, it is a 5, and it depends on whether your mom is a US citizen or not. I can't remember, but the process is 5 to 7 years. So, you are like 3 years into a potential 5 to 7 year process. Can a child file for a parent? Only a child who's 21 and up and who is a U.S. citizen can file. How does one obtain a green card? Through an employer, through family members, through humanitarian means, like if you have asylum, if you have the T or the U visa, and also through the diversity lottery. This is the lottery for the green card. This is only assigned to specific countries, so you'd have to also check to see if your country qualifies for this. My sister was told she couldn't file for my dad. So I don't know what your sister's situation is, but if she's a US citizen, she's 21 and up, then it's possible. BB 8822, I think that's a sign. When in doubt, definitely schedule an appointment and let's talk about the situation here. That's the best way to make sure that you understand your process, you make sure that you qualify, and to get the right representation to move forward. I am going to be heading on over to Instagram, so I'm not going to be finished. You're welcome to join me there. I'm the Immigration Attorney on Instagram, same as here, same as YouTube. So join me there if you want to continue to ask questions. But I'm going to tell you how you can contact me to schedule your appointment. Go ahead and call the number. It's all over my videos. Go ahead, call the phone number or go to the link in the profile. It will take you to the website. You can do the online chat. You can do the contact form, and you can call the phone number on the website. All three will lead to the scheduling coordinator who will speak with you and be able to help you to schedule your appointment so we can get to the nitty-gritty of your particular circumstances and get started as soon as we determine you qualify. So I hope to see you in a minute on Instagram or speak with you in a consultation very soon. Or I hope to see you on Monday, because remember, I am live Mondays through Fridays around 4 p.m. Eastern time. So if you catch me, then you can always ask your questions and then I will answer. But remember, the information that I gave you today is not personalized legal advice. It's general information. And so you should not be acting on this information until you get the legal advice and representation you need. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for your time. I will be back I'll be back on Monday to take your general questions, but you can always schedule to meet with me, or you can meet me in a minute on Instagram. I'm the